Chapter 14. I awoke Wednesday with a fluttery stomach. The rally meant so much to me. If we could pull it off, we'd have shown unity. We'd have proved that even being poor and downtrodden, you might affect your own future. Otero would try to stop us. Rumors had flown all over the school about that since Monday, and it did seem more than likely. The G4s had suddenly turned benign. It seemed almost as if they were biding their time, as if they had something big planned that didn't make harassing us worthwhile. Mama was in the kitchen when I came down for breakfast. Usually we sit quietly together, not talking, gazing out to the garden in the back of the house. In the very small yard, Papa had created a feeling of space and peace. A few interesting black rocks nestled together on a bed of raked sand, like islands on a quiet sea. Azaleas and camellias grew against the back wall, with one early variety already in bloom. Today, that view did nothing to ease my anxious stomach. I forced down juice and nibbled dry toast. Mama observed, but said nothing. Gia was waiting for me on a corner, 2 blocks from school. She'd been promoted to dark green since the first time I tried to talk to her. "Listen," she said, very excited. "I heard something's going on with the color armbands you guys made." "I know, but do you know what?" "I'm not sure, but is there any way for them to steal your stuff?" She glanced around uneasily. My stomach began to hurt. "I don't think so." To minimize the risk of the armbands disappearing, we divided them up and stashed them in 5 different lockers. "No, I don't see how they could." "Well, I just thought I'd tell you. I still feel allegiance to my old friends, the light greens, and they're in with you on this. Somehow, it's just not the same, being a dark green. Know what I mean?" "I know. I'll be glad when it's Friday and we can sort all this out. I don't know if I can ever be friends with some guys after the way they acted." "Good luck." Brian lounged against a wall, watching everyone, watching us. "I feel like sticking my tongue out at him," Gia whispered. "Know what I mean? Do it." She giggled. Just as we passed him, we both stuck our tongues out at Brian. A dumb thing to do, but it really felt good. The school bloomed with the banners and posters I'd lettered and Adam had helped color. During the night, a team of oranges and light green no-techs had put them up. For some reason, the G4s were making no effort to have them removed. The plan was to set up stations in 5 different parts of the school to hand out the bands before the bell rang for homeroom. Justin and Troy would stand nearby with the flyers, explaining what we believed, that we should help each other, regardless of what color or sex or economic status we were. And the 4 colored armbands represented that joining together. I hurried to my locker to get the box of bands. At 7:30 I was supposed to be in front of the cafeteria, handing them out. "Amy, wait!" I heard above the usual roar of early morning talk out on the quad. Adam rushed toward me. "Let's go to your locker." "What's going on? You look funny." He didn't answer my question, only hurried me along, up the stairs to the 2nd floor landing in my locker. Several boys leaned over the balustrade sailing paper airplanes. "Open it," Adam said grimly. Puzzled, I put my books down and fumbled with the combination, having to repeat the process because my fingers were as fluttery as my stomach. As soon as I got the lock off, he almost pushed me out of the way. He opened the locker, glanced inside, then stepped aside. "Look." "My pack! Where is it?" "They took it. Those damn G4s. Otero must have gotten the combinations to our lockers from the office, and the G4s got here early and stole them. I'm so furious. I could kill." "But he'd have had to open all our lockers, every one of us oranges and light greens." Unless we have a spy in our midst," Adam said. "Remember, someone alerted the G4s about our meeting at Juan's." "Who?" I asked, and then, remembering the time, "The other lockers, what about them?" "Empty, too." "Oh, Adam!" Angry tears sprang to my eyes. "Oh, Adam!" "Come on. We'll try to find the others and improvise something." We ran down the hall and down the stairs when I heard my name again. Gwen rushed toward us, pushing her way through the milling students. "I heard what happened," she called out. I'm sorry. Yeah, sure. Adam pulled me along, making a path in the direction of the auditorium, our preset meeting place for emergencies. Wait, Gwen called, running after us. I can help. Adam, I cried. Slow down. Wait. But he ignored me, still barreling through the crowd. We found the students who should have been passing out the new armbands waiting, as well as other oranges. Otero's unfair! That's a dirty pool! Now what are we going to do? What are you doing here? Juan asked Gwen. Enjoying our failure? Yeah, Justin added. You have anything to do with this? What's wrong with you creeps? Gwen exclaimed. You've become so paranoid you wouldn't trust your own mother. Otero has done a good job. He's shown you how powerless the lower classes really are. So what did you come here for? To gloat? Let's not argue, please, I pleaded. Gwen thinks she can help. We've only got 15 minutes before school starts. Stop arguing and listen. Sure, like what could you do? Well, if you feel like that. Gwen's lips tightened. She clutched a heavy shopping bag in both hands. Bye-bye, guys. Gwen. She shook off my arm. It's just the way Otero says. People don't look beyond labels. Even when the upper classes want to help, no one figures they're for real. Gwen, please, tell us what you had in mind. We're desperate. I flashed a warning scowl at Justin, who had shown such suspicion at Gwen's motives. Gwen, please. She hesitated, then turned back to us. Okay, but only for you, Amy. She put the heavy bag on the ground and dug into it. Out came a big roll of cheap red ribbon. Your armbands. She smiled triumphantly. I've got rolls and rolls of this stuff. Scissors, too. Cost me bucks, but I figure you white dudes will be happy to reimburse me. Red? Someone asked doubtfully. Red? Why not? It's the color of revolution. Besides, it was the only color I could get at the price. What are we supposed to do with this stuff? Where's your imagination, you orange no-tech? Man, I can't believe this. She dipped into the bag again, removing cheap shears, the kind used in kindergartens. This is what you do, man. You measure out a length like this, you cut like this, and you hand it to a student to tie around the arm. Comprende? That's brilliant, I exclaimed, anxious to forestall the nasty reply I saw forming in some of the faces around us. Let's get going. We only have 15 minutes before the bell rings. I began handing out rolls of ribbon, and in a matter of minutes, our team dispersed to the far corners of the school. We had 15 minutes to cut and pass out a lot of ribbon. Ribbon we hoped would tie the whole student body together. The rally succeeded beautifully. We couldn't cut ribbons fast enough. Everyone wanted them. The only holdouts, blues and dark greens, became the oddballs, except they got to wear our ribbons too, pinned to their backs without their knowing. Afterwards, we went around congratulating ourselves and hugging each other. We did it! The whole school's behind us! Down with color differences! Otero didn't seem a bit upset. High on our success, we came to class smiling like Cheshire cats. Nothing he said or the G4s did could hurt us now. You've pulled off what no other class did before, Otero said. Congratulations. Social and value changes are what this game is all about. Only don't celebrate yet. By tomorrow you might be right back to where you were. Or will you have reached a higher level of understanding, where you see each other not as colors, but as human beings? Adam tapped me on the shoulder and whispered, Boy, is he going to be surprised. We're all equal. No one can make us feel otherwise again. I grinned back at him and nodded. The G4s started in with their fines, coming down heavy on us oranges. Gwen was demoted. Troy, for no reason we could figure, was promoted. But none of it touched us. We were still too high. No matter what Otero said, we'd succeeded in uniting the oranges and light greens, and getting the help of a blue defector. We'd proven that if you unite against injustice, you can bring about change. Friday morning, the last day of the color game, Mama hung around the kitchen longer than usual. I'd been babbling about my friends, trying to figure out who might be the spy, going on about Adam and how he'd been treating me lately. She kept checking the clock, but didn't leave for work. Finally, I stopped talking long enough to realize Mama felt uneasy about something. "Mama?" I asked right out. "What's wrong?" She gave me this little embarrassed shrug and poured another cup of tea for herself, making a little ceremony of it before answering. Finally, she said, "This boy, Adam, he sounds like a good boy. He seems to care a great deal about you." I blushed. "Yes, Mama, and I care about him too." "I can see that." Mama shook her head and gazed out at the garden, the cup held in both hands. "Perhaps Papa and I have been wrong." I swallowed and waited for her to go on. "It is hard to say. It is different now than when we were young." Again she paused. "Papa says it is only proper that you ask Adam to have dinner with us after all this time." "Papa says?" "Yes, Papa." She gave me a small, embarrassed smile. "He is not such a cold man as you think. He sees how you feel. He tries to understand." "Mama, when?" I asked, heart beating rapidly. I could hardly wait to get to school to tell Adam. "Sunday. Hideo and Sue will be here. We will sit in the garden, and then we will have dinner. All of us. Together." "Oh, Mama!" I cried, jumping up. "Oh, Mama, 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 I love you!" I hugged her from behind and went dancing around the kitchen, already making plans about what to wear and how I'd tell Adam. Otero had the chairs in the room set up in a circle on this, the last day of the game. Even so, out of habit, out of a sense of our own unity, we chose seats near others of our color. "Today," he announced, "we remove our color bands and life goes back to normal. I want you all to remember that some people can't ever take off their armbands. Just because of their color, they'll be treated with less respect than others all of their lives. Except, maybe not by those who have been part of this game." "Was the assignment of colors rigged?" someone called out. Otero smiled. "Yes and no. Remember the questionnaires you filled out about a week before we started the game? Well, that's how we learned of your general economic status and attitudes. Those answers helped us, me and the G4s, to decide who should become what. After all, the purpose of the game is to learn what it's like for others, those less fortunate or more fortunate than you." "But how did you work it?" Justin asked. "We picked the color chips ourselves." "Yes, you did, but what you didn't know is that we had double bags. One held the chips for the upper classes and one for the lower classes. When you reached into the bags, the G4s held open only one of the two. That way, your choices were halved. We couldn't rig it more precisely than that, and there were some random, Juan, for example." A groan went through the class, and the G4s chuckled as if they'd put something over on us. Whenever we thought someone wasn't learning enough in a particular color, the G4s and I voted to promote or demote. Remember how Carol was promoted to blue? It was because, as a dark green, she wasn't learning anything. We could tell from her journal. As a blue, she found how nice it was to be respected and not be harassed, so she did everything she could to make blue. "I was just playing the game the way it works in real life," Carol protested in defense. Otero tugged at his beard. "Before we give up our bands, is there anything you'd like to say about your experience, good or bad?" Brian spoke first. "I want to apologize for being so mean to a lot of you. I did it for the game. I'm really a very nice guy." Cat calls and cries of disbelief filled the air, and I found myself wondering how many other G4s and Blues really enjoyed their power, despite their protests. "Boy, was I pissed off when Gwen stopped me after gym last week," Rob said. "She looked me up and down with this little smirk on her face and says, 'You ought to wear shorts more often, Rob. You got nice legs.'" Some of the girls laughed uncomfortably, but Rob went on. I never really thought how we guys treat girls until then. I started to think how I treat my girlfriend, and didn't like what I was finding. His voice cracked with emotion. I was so paternalistic. Adam leaned toward me and whispered, I feel like putting an arm around him if it wouldn't be misunderstood. I just hated being orange, Michelle said. My best friend ignored me through the whole game. It really made me think. Until this game, I never really noticed anyone who was poor or a different color from me. Now I know why ethnic groups stick together, Adam said. It's because there's safety in being with your own, especially when society separates people into them and us. Why, Adam, Paul joked. You did learn something. You all learned something, Otero said. I hope what you learned sticks with you all your lives, because if it does, the world will be a better place to live in. Who was the spy? I called out. You didn't guess? Otero smiled. I want you all to know he spied for us, me and the G4s, on orders, so don't hold it against him. If he'd like to identify himself, it's up to him. Who? Several of us called out. I began to suspect everyone. Otero spoke of a him, so it could be Juan, Robert, Justin, even Adam. Troy stood up. Adam and I exchanged shocked glances. Troy? But he grinned a crooked smile. I only did what I was told. You spied on us. You leaked our plans to the G4s so they'd raid us at Juan's? You told them which lockers had the armbands? You threw suspicion on Juan and Amy. Troy! Aw, come on, he protested. You learned something, didn't you? Otero held up a hand. We're running late and I have some things to say before the hugging. The class quieted immediately. Otero leaned across his desk. I promised to take you on a journey to another planet where color and social status were regulated by the armbands you wore. Soon you're going to remove those bands. I hope you'll remember the feelings you had these past weeks of associating people's character with their band color. That's what's called stereotyping. You found yourselves looking at a person's band first, then you knew how to interact with that person. Otero's voice dropped as if he were choked with emotion. Remember how that felt, forever, because that's how it is in real life. Only people don't look at armbands. They look at skin color or facial features, or listen to accents, or judge others by the way they dress, not by the kind of people they are. He cleared his throat. In a moment, you'll remove your color bands, but think how many people can't remove theirs, their skin color, or the labels of poverty. I felt very close to Mr. Otero at that moment, and I think everyone in the room felt the same. Adam squeezed my hand. I have said my piece. Now it's time to heal whatever hurts you may have brought to others or felt because of others. Otero moved to the front of the room. The G4s took positions to his left. You'll each come forward, throw your color band on the floor, then exchange hugs so there are no hard feelings. First you'll hug me, then each of the G4s, then stand at the end of the line so each person in turn will hug each other. Blues first. After that, the room became noisy and confused. Paul, a head taller than Otero, acted as if he didn't know how to hug men, making everybody laugh. Otero whispered a few words to Gwen, and she whispered back. Then they hugged each other. Some people went through the process hurriedly. Others, like Carol, got weepy as they passed from Otero to each of the G4s, and down the line past those who had come before. When it was my turn, my heart began thumping like a 4th of July band, and my throat swelled with emotion. I dropped my orange and blue bands on the small mountain of bands on the floor, then stepped up to Otero. Without a word, we hugged each other with special warmth. I'm very proud of you, Amy. You're a born leader, and you lead with a gentle hand. Thanks, Mr. Otero, I whispered. Brian opened his arms to me as I moved along to the G4s. Amy. Yeah? I said, touching hands but not moving into his embrace. I hope there are no hard feelings. Oh no, hardly any. He chuckled. If you're not tied down to that dumb orange no-tech, I'd still like to see you. Not a chance, Adam said, answering for me. Bad habits die slowly, I guess. Nothing's impossible, Brian, I said, answering for myself. Just look what we oranges accomplished. You're putting me on. I raised an eyebrow enigmatically and moved on. Brian looked after me, and I winked, feeling a silly, self-conscious grin start at my lips. The last few minutes of the class we milled around some more, talking about our feelings. Carol came up to me, teary-eyed and a little apprehensive. I'm so glad it's over. Still friends? Of course we were, even more so. I felt a glow of love for everyone in class. We'd shared so much. It would be strange to leave the room without my color band, to go back to how it was before. Do you feel any different? Adam asked as we left together. Yes, kind of subdued. Blues and dark greens and light greens went by, touching us as they passed. I've come to like people I didn't know before, like Gwen. Do you think? Let's ask her to sit at our lunch table. Adam noticed the mid-sentence switch and smiled. Sure. 1, 2. I squeezed his hand. By the way, doing anything Sunday? Mama and Papa invited you to dinner. Butterflies again, even though I couldn't imagine Adam saying no. For a second, I thought of Mrs. Tarcher and the ugly feelings she brought out in me. Then I figured, if she doesn't like me, it's her problem. So? Adam's eyes twinkled, but he said, I don't know. Depends on the menu. Oh? My hackles went up. Would I always be on guard? If you're worried about what you're likely to eat, it will probably be roast beef and potatoes. That's just it, Adam said. I was hoping for sushi, tempura, or something interesting like that. He tilted his head and gave me a tender, intimate smile. I can eat roast beef and potatoes anytime. Adam, I said. Adam Tarcher. My throat filled with happy tears. We faced each other in the middle of the crowded hallway, kids going by us on both sides, and smiled. I'll talk to the chef, I said.